everyone, and welcome to the last episode of season 2 of Live from the Pink Couch. I'm Cheryl Grace, and I am thrilled to have the opportunity to have spent the last, 6 or 7 months or so coaching 5 independent and professionally diverse professionals in various industries and across all industries. And what we've done over the course of these last few months together is to help them get closer to achieving their goals. They each have identified what I call pink elephant goals. Now, what's a pink elephant goal, Cheryl? A pink elephant goal is your biggest, most audacious goal that requires you to lean into it just a little bit. It also requires a lot of faith and often help from other people, because sometimes we cannot do and accomplish everything by ourselves. So those are pink elephant goals. Each of our individual mentees that I've been coaching, they've identified their pink elephant goals. They've been working on them. And today is our last chance to catch up on their progress. Now, before we get in to talking to all of our, I call them hashtag next level tribe, and those individuals are Darissa, who is our lone star, and Fatia, who is our hopeful star, and Ryan, who is our newbie. Before we get into hearing their updates, I've got a couple of surprise guests today because I want to make sure that we go out with a bang. So the first person that we have is Brian White. And Brian is the claims supervisor of training and new hire onboarding at Healthcare Service Corporation, which is a parent company of some of the Blue Cross Blue Shields family. He specializes in training, and he's been with the company for 8 years. And Brian is involved in the hiring and decision-making of approximately 150 new associates every year. So in this capacity, over the course of the last 8 years, Brian has witnessed a lot of changes in the trends that are occurring in the hiring industry. And one of those trends that has been sweeping the country right now is called virtual interviewing. And Ryan, on our last session, you indicated that you had gone through a virtual interview with Goldman Sachs, right?
Yes.
Yeah. And you felt like it was harder than normal, right?
Correct.
Tell me what you thought was hard about it.
I thought it was hard, not talking to anybody. You're kind of just getting a robot asking you a question, and you see yourself on the screen answering.
Okay. And so you're not getting any feedback.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Right. All right. So Brian says they use this new technique all the time. And he's here today to share with you. And Fatia, I don't know, have you run into this new way of interviewing yet as well?
I have, and as a student, but not as a professional.
Okay. So I want to make sure that both of you, because you are actually job searching, whereas Darissa, when we explain what she's doing, she's not quite searching for a new role, but you two are more than likely going to find yourself faced with a virtual interview. And I want to make sure, it is my job to make sure you are prepared for everything. And so Brian has been at the forefront of his company helping with this new technology. And he's got a major in human resources management from DePaul University. And he's going to share with us a few of his tips on how to conquer and thrive and excel at these virtual interviews. Brian, what can you tell us? First of all, welcome to the show, Brian.
Thank you so much for having me. I really appreciate you offering, and I'm happy to help in any capacity that I can.
Oh, well, we're glad to have you. And I guess, this new virtual thing that Ryan just indicated in terms of interviewing, how does it work and why are employers using it?
Well, as we all know, as Cheryl mentioned earlier, the trends in the corporations or the business world have changed dramatically, tremendously even. The one biggest reason for using it is it streamlines. You're not reaching out. And in some cases, it's a quote unquote first line of defense. So you're weeding out. In college, you remember that weed out class that you had, that if you're going for a major and there's this hard weed out class and you don't pass that, you're out of the major. Virtual interviewing does the same thing, you know? So you want to make sure that you're putting your best foot forward. I do have a couple of tips for you guys, and I would appreciate you guys asking me questions, and hopefully I can answer it. One of the first things I'd like you all to think about is an interview. When you're in an interview, when you're physically going to an interview, you're putting your best foot forward. You're dressing to impress. You've got your resume in hand. You've practiced. You spoke. You're ready to put it out there. You're going to meet that Cheryl Grace, and you need to impress Cheryl Grace, and you haven't met her yet. So you're going to meet her, and you need to impress her, and you guys have been working with her, so you know she's no nonsense. Take that attitude and that demeanor into your virtual interview, and you'll do phenomenal.
So Rebecca's smiling over there.
The first thing I'd like to talk to you guys about is practicing. Yes, you can practice for a virtual interview. The one big key thing to practicing for a virtual interview, you can see behind me, there's a mirror. Take your phone or whatever device you're going to use and talk to yourself in the mirror. Because guess what? That's what I can see. When you're talking, that's the only barometer I have of you is right there, visually, okay? You can go out to the internet and you can search for virtual interview questions or what have you. But I can almost guarantee you 90 to 95% of your virtual interview questions are going to be situational, okay? So what you'd want to do is think about a situation. I'll give you an example. They asked me I had a virtual interview question some years ago, and they asked me about something, and I couldn't put myself in that work situation, so I used a personal situation, and that's okay. Because after the fact, they came back to me and said, I can't believe you did that. And mine was about a barbecue grill. So that had nothing to do with work or at all. So those are the kind of things you want to look at. You want to make sure that you are dressed professionally.
Okay, so wait, I want to stop here. Wait, Brian, I want to stop here, right? Before you get to that, because when Brian and I were talking yesterday, and I said, you can share tips that you think will be helpful. And he said, one of the things I really want to stress is the importance of dressing like you're going for an interview. And I'm like, do people not dress appropriately for these kinds of interviews? And what was your answer, Brian? Because I'm like, okay, we got to stop because I want to get the same level of energy in today's session that I was getting on that phone call yesterday because you were adamant. What did you say when I said people don't dress appropriately? What did you say?
I said, my gosh, it's ridiculous. I'll put it out there. It's ridiculous. I'm going to give you guys a few examples. I had one young lady, and I don't know the proper terminology, but she had curlers in her hair, rollers that you wear at night, and a bonnet, and a sleeve shirt, as if she was just getting, I promise you, I have no reason to mislead you.
No. Okay, am I the only person shocked at something like this? Like, come on.
I have no reason to mislead you.
I'm not shocked, but I think, Brian, do you think it's because there's now been such a relaxed environment because of the pandemic and people feel like we're relaxed, we're at home, and they don't feel like they need to essentially dress appropriately?
I think that's definitely a part of it, but in the same breath, I was home for 18 months. I'm back and forth in the office now, so I still need to dress to impress. And yes, Rebecca, you hit the nail. However, you are looking to be employed, period.
Number one, and first and foremost, you are trying to get a job, and you want to show up the way you would show up in person. And God forbid you show up with one of those satin hair bonnets. First of all,
that's what the thing's called.
It's a satin bonnet. And Brian, I got to say, it is a pet peeve of mine to even see satin bonnets outside of your house. Satin bonnets don't belong anywhere, you all, except in your bedroom. Yeah, I said it. Send me emails, send me hate mail. I don't care. Keep your little satin heads inside your house, and you certainly do not go on an interview, virtual or otherwise, wearing a satin bonnet. I wish. Go on, Brian. I'm sorry.
Oh, not to lose train of thought, but the professionalism, though, that's a key indicator. I was so taken aback by that. And the unfortunate thing is it happens more often than you would imagine. Maybe not to that extreme. However, one of the other things that I think is a big takeaway, everybody uses their phone. Your phone is for everything. Your phone, you're watching TV, you're working, you're doing everything on your phone. When you have a virtual interview and you're going to use your phone, don't answer your phone. I've had people answer their phones and it's recording, and then they lose everything, and then they can't get back. So they miss out on the interview. They may have answered the phone on question 3, and now they can't get back because it's gone now. They've lost everything. So those are some key things that I want to discuss with you guys. And I have many more. I'm pulling up my notes even as we speak. When you're preparing for it, preparing is the key. You want to find a room with good light. If you guys look at how you are, and now I'm not picking on you, Ryan, you're outdoors, but everybody else is sitting at a desk or sitting in a calm space. That's what you want to see. Now, and the reason why I mentioned the outdoors thing, I've had interviewees who are taking interviews in their automobile vehicles. Well, if you're in a vehicle, there's many vehicles around you. So vehicles are speeding past you, horns are blowing, okay? Those kind of things. You want to make sure that you are in a professional space. And it doesn't have to be professional. You want to make sure that you're in a quiet space where you don't have to worry about anybody coming in. If you're having an interview, you have family. As Cheryl can tell you, I have 8-year-old twins, and they are rambunctious, okay? So when I'm working from home, they know, don't come where I am, okay? You have to present that mentality, okay? You have to have that mindset where this is my space. This is what I'm putting my best foot forward. I'm going to do what it takes for me to get this done.
And let me interrupt there for a second too, Brian, about the space in which you are conducting the interview. It's important simply because I don't want to be distracted, nor do you want me to be distracted by your background and paying attention to what's going on around you and everything else that's going on around you, and not paying attention to you, because you only get one chance to impress me. And if this is the opportunity and this is what you're doing when you're trying to get the job, imagine how I think you're going to show up once you get the job. Like, if you're not even putting forth an effort to get the job, I don't think, once I'm paying you, I don't think you're going to do your best work for me. And that's a concern. And it's a legitimate concern that employers have. I'm sorry, Brian, give us another tip before we open up to ask questions. How can people answer these questions? Ryan said he felt really uncomfortable simply because when you're in this type of situation, it's virtually as if you're talking to a black hole. Like, you can't see anyone's reactions. You know, you don't know if you're hitting it on the point. So really, you're acting.
Yep, exactly. What I'm looking at when I'm doing a virtual interview, over and above the questions, okay, and the reason why I preference situational, what I'm looking at is your mannerisms. I'm looking at your mannerisms. I'm looking at consistency, okay? Some of the questions may appear to be the same, worded differently. Guess what? That's not pretense, okay? That's a real thing. There's questions out there, and it's looking for your mannerisms. Again, consistent answers. How do you react to situations? They're going to put you in situations when you're interviewing for that position that may and may not be directly related to that position. However, it's situational. That's why I preferenced earlier take something from your personal life, if you can't think of anything from work life, and utilize that as a situational entity. Okay. Again, one of the things that I'm looking for, can you hit the ground running? Are you ready to go right now? Especially if you're coming from another position similar to what you're interviewing for. It's different if you're coming out of college. Okay. Obviously, you're not going to be able to hit the ground running. You've got a ton of business knowledge or whatever your vocation knowledge, but you're not going to be able to hit the ground running. Systems can be trained. Okay. Attitude and mannerism cannot. Okay. When you walk in there with that, that can't be trained. I'm looking at this and I'm like, oh my gosh, this person's resume is incredible, but their mannerisms are horrible. Are they coachable? Okay. That's one of the things I'm looking for. When I'm doing an interview, are you coachable? Are you? And then, no, sorry, you're not coachable. You are not coachable. You are out there on your own. Okay. Humility, as Cheryl said, acting. You are acting. You are out there acting. You have an audience of many that you can't see. Okay. That's why I say it's key to get in that mirror, because that's exactly what I'm going to see. That's exactly.
Thank you, Brian. This is like such juicy stuff. Fatia, Ryan, do you have any questions? Darissa, do you have any questions? Because you may actually find yourself doing a virtual pitch one of these days. But what questions do you all have for Brian?
Yeah, I have one question or a couple things for Brian. Thank you so much for sharing. My first question is about virtual backgrounds. What's your opinion on having a virtual background in the event that your space may not be as feasible? You know, how do you feel about blurring things in my background, or how do you feel about me blurring things in my background for a virtual interview? And two, when you discuss the situational questions, 90% of virtual interviews are situational questions. Are you referring to the STAR method? For example, like the situation, I think task, action, result, STAR method, because I know I did that, or I did a lot of that practice extensively in my MBA. So I just wanted some clarity on that, please.
Sure. First answer is absolutely. I think an appropriate virtual background would be outstanding. Okay. If you have situations where, you know, as Cheryl mentioned, her house is a mess because of flooding. Okay. But she carved out a spot. Okay. Now she couldn't carve out that spot, but she had a virtual that felt appropriate. Then absolutely do what you have to do to put your best foot forward. Situational. Yeah, the STAR method's out there, and absolutely. To add to that, situations. What if, then what? That's a situation. So if you're presented with this, what would you do? How would you handle it? If a person comes to you and it's a customer service position, you're interviewing for a customer service position, and they're telling you your sales paper said that this was this price, and it was online, and it was not, it was this price, and they're looking at a different thing. How do you handle that? What do you do? Do you need to go and speak to your supervisor? Do you, and again, you have 8 seconds to think about this and answer it. Okay. So it gets kind of tough. There's individuals out there who read a question and they say, I've never been faced with this situation, so I don't have an answer. That is not something I want to see. That is
so in other words, fake an answer if you can is better than just saying, I that's not been my experience ever, and I don't have an answer. You should never come to any type of interview situation saying, I'm sorry, I don't have an answer for that.
Absolutely not. Absolutely. Great questions. I want to make sure I pronounce it correct. Fatia?
Fatia.
Yeah.
Fatia, I apologize.
No problem. Thank you.
Ryan?
Yeah, I have a question. Do you have any tips on how to make the end of your responses sound less awkward? Because I've had a bunch of Zoom interviews where, you know, the person I'm interviewing with was able to tell off my body language that I was done responding. Whereas when you're with this virtual interview platform, you kind of have to, like, you know, end your answer yourself. So is there any way to, like, you have any tips on how to, like, make it less awkward?
Give me an example of one of your endings.
Like I would say, after I give the situation and I give, how I responded to it, I'd be like, okay, and then like I just go click end for where it says like, next question.
Uh-huh. Here's a thought-provoking thing. Say thank you. Just say thank you.
At the end of each question?
If you don't want to if you're feeling awkward, because some of the questions are designed to be difficult, period. And you're out there, and I'm trying to interpret what Ryan's saying. You're out there, you're not sure of it, you want some clarity on your thought process. Say thank you at the end. Just simply say thank you and move. I had an interview the other day, and this individual introduced herself and said thank you at every question. And I quite honestly, I was like, really? But she was nervous. And I said, really, to myself, she was nervous. And you could see how nervous she was. Again, I can see all of that. Your interviewer can see all of that. That's why I say practice, okay? There are times where, and this may not always be the case, where you can do a practice interview within the interview, okay? So practice the interview within the interview and boom. But it's gonna be right then and right there. So it's not like you can practice the interview on Monday and then go back and do it on Tuesday. No, because you've had an opportunity to study and formulate your thoughts. There's a practice within a practice. So if the whole interview process is gonna take 10, 15, 20 minutes, that'll be the entire process.
So Ryan, when you did your interview, did you have a chance? I remember you saying that they gave you like 60 seconds to collect your thoughts or whatever. What was your experience? How did it work for you?
So for the practice interview, they gave me 1 minute to think and then 2 minutes to respond. But in the actual interview, they only gave me 30 seconds to think and 1 minute and 30 to respond.
Wow. Okay. So you had a question. Tell me about an achievement in your most recent role and how it was impactful to the organization. How did you answer that? Give us an idea how you answered that.
Yeah. So I, in my time at my internship, I led a canine genetic research project where I pitched an investment opportunity for this company called Embark to my firm's partners, and I told them about how, because everyone's at home and because of COVID, the pet care industry has been booming for 2020. And this company was relatively undervalued based on the data I collected. And I pitched the company, they loved it. And they hopped on the $700 million Series A round then and there.
Okay, so that's a great answer. We see how you wrapped it up with your tonality. Why would it be different at the end of, so when you're finished with this question, do you have to hit a button or something before it goes to the next question, or do you have to wait until the time runs out? Because I'm not sure I understand why, when I can tell from your tone that you're finished.
Yeah,
why can't I tell that? There's a button?
Yeah.
Okay.
It lags. Right. It was lagging for me for about 3 seconds.
Okay. So if you say, give your answer and then say thank you, and then hit the button, you're saying that's okay, Brian?
One move. Absolutely. Absolutely. Because as you just said, I could tell you were done with your answer. Okay. Usually when you're in a virtual interview, you're leaning forward as you're answering it. I don't know if you understand or realize your body posture, you start to move forward. Okay. When you're done, you start to move back. Okay. That's just natural motion. Okay. If you feel that you're done and you're not, I don't want to use the word paranoid, you feel uncomfortable because the camera's still on me and it's still rolling. That's what a virtual interview is for. I'm going to be honest with you. It's supposed to make you feel uncomfortable. If it was easy, everyone would do it. Okay. It's supposed to everyone would
soar at it, excel at it.
Exactly. Exactly.
So again, they're using it as a weeding mechanism.
Exactly.
Okay. What other questions, Fatia or Ryan? Dorissa?
Yes. So I'm a techie, and my question is in regards to how these things are evaluated on the back end. Like, is there a certain AI that helps you decide through looking at maybe some transcripts of whatever people were saying that helps you to filter through to a potential candidate? Or is it all kind of like, once you get a collection of videos, you review them, and that's how you go about it? Thank you so much, Byron, I'm sorry.
Brian, that was a great question. And let me expound on that a little bit. Here's what is done. I have your virtual interview. I have your resume. I am not looking at your virtual interview until I've reviewed your resume. I'm just not. That's just me. That's the way I do it. I'm not looking at one until I see the other, okay? What I'm doing during your virtual interview, I've looked at your resume. I'm looking at your virtual interview. Normally, I look at your virtual interview twice, okay? I look at it. I want to see you. I want to see what you're doing. I want to see how you're speaking. I want to see what you're speaking about. And from a how you're speaking is the coachability standpoint, okay? I'm matching your conversation to your resume. Again, it's all the questions are situational. So I'm looking at how you're answering. I'm looking at the mannerisms. I'm reading your review. I'm reading your resume. Then I'm going back and I'm taking and I'm listening to you without watching you. I'm watching you the first time. I'm listening to you the second time, and I'm scoring it the second time. So for every interview I do two. I watch you, I listen to you. When I'm listening to you, I'm scoring and I'm putting down my comments, my thoughts, how you answered, what you said, okay, the situation that you presented, okay? And then based on the score achieved, whether we're going to continue to move forward.
So where does the tech come into play in terms of screening out? So if you have a job opening for 20 people and you've received virtual interviews of 120, where does that technology, I think is what Darissa's asking, where does that come into play?
Well, the technology comes into play because we're virtually speaking to you. Now, what it sounds like you're asking is, how are we getting to this number? Okay.
Right.
We're basing it on.
How have you weeded out? How
yes.
has the system electronically weeded anyone out?
Yes, the systems electronically weeded individuals out that are not that. I don't know what system the name of it is. The resume where it's looking for keywords.
Right.
Okay?
The SEO. Right. Not the
SEO, system's weeding
APIs.
out. Okay. The system from that perspective is weeding out. So the resumes that I get are truly potential candidates. Okay. Then I'm going in, and that's why, Ryan, it is so important that you practice and look at, okay? Because I can be honest with you, as I'm hiring a class right now, and I'm going through, and there's a couple of individuals who are right there together. And then it becomes based off of your resume and your speech, that feeling. What's that feeling? Where's that level of coachability? Are they coachable? Is this a good fit? It's very key to put down your KSAs. It's extraordinarily key to make sure you have those down. I'm looking for this particular class I'm hiring, I'm looking for people with good computer aptitude, okay? Are you able to multitask through applications? There's going to be multiple applications at a time.
Okay.
You may be outstanding, but you mentioned nothing of that at all, okay? It's important that you read the job description and speak about things that are in the description that you're being interviewed about, okay? There's a couple of essay questions. Those are the answers that you want to make sure that you input when you are filling everything out, okay? KSAs are extraordinarily important.
Do you want to give people the definition of KSAs?
Knowledge, skills, and abilities.
Okay. All right.
Okay. Great questions,
this is
guys.
Fascinating, you all. I find this whole new trend amazing, and I want to make sure that we're sending you out there ready for each and every single situation. We have been working together, and as I learn new things, I want to make sure that I'm passing that on. So Ryan, you brought this new technology to our attention on our last session. So thank you. And I hope we're sending you out better prepared to handle it.
Thank you. I actually I got a follow-up interview for Goldman Sachs tomorrow.
You did?
Yeah, so it was, I guess my awkwardness wasn't that bad.
That's fabulous, Ryan. Okay, all right. So we got to make sure you're ready for tomorrow. We got to make sure that you're answering their questions. You got the situational, behavioral, like, they're all, because you don't necessarily have a ton of experience to rely on, as Brian kind of indicated. Ryan is our newbie. Brian, he is right out of college. He's had one internship, which he just completed this summer, and he did get some great experience there. But he doesn't have years and years of experience to fall back on. And so it's really important for him to be able to answer those behavioral and situational questions to the success of the person doing the interview. So, all right. So you didn't do as poorly as you thought you did, Ryan.
Yeah, exactly.
That's great. Okay. Thank you so much, Brian, for sharing that information with us. It was really, really very helpful. Our next guest coach is Rebecca Roussel. And Rebecca actually was this time last year, where we in September, a couple of months
2 years
before.
ago, I think.
No, it was just last year.
Yeah, last year. Yeah.
It was last year, Rebecca.
Yeah.
She was the hopeful. And since then she's gone on, and she's had not one, but 2 jobs and a promotion in just 18 months. Just 18 months. So Fatia is our hopeful, and Fatia has an MBA, and she's been out there looking for work since COVID struck, and she's been having a hard time landing a role. And so Rebecca is the new Senior Vice President of DEI Communications at Current Global, which is an advertising agency. And she just stepped into these big, whopping, brand new, huge stilettos of a role a month ago, not even a full month, right, Rebecca?
As of September 1.
September 1. Okay. So, and she started with this company in February. So between February, March, April, May, June, July, August, and September, in an 8-month period, she got a promotion with a significant pay increase, jumping from vice president to senior vice president. I wanted to share Rebecca's success story with you, Fatia, and for anybody out there who is feeling less than motivated about the job search. I call it emotional tenacity. And that's what you have to have in order to stay the course when you're not getting your dream job right out of the ballpark. And what I will say before I turn things over to Rebecca to talk to you about how to handle this emotional turmoil that you're going through is that you have to think of it just like dating. So when I coach my dating clients, I tell them, you got to kiss some frogs. And so every frog that you have successfully gone on a date with, you want to say, check, 1 frog down, 99 to go. Check, 2 frogs down, 98 to go. 99 frogs, on the wall, waiting to get your attention before you get to the king or the prince. That's the way the job search, you have to think of it as well. Every time you don't get the job that you're looking for, I think it's important to say, okay, well, universe, you must have something really incredible for me, because that there was a good job. And Rebecca, I know you had some great jobs that you interviewed, but girl, where you ended up and how you've been flowing, talk us through this.
Yeah. Well, first off, I would say, as a single person, I don't know if I have time for 99 roles.
Process, Rebecca, you got to trust the process.
No, but great. But thank you so much, Cheryl, for inviting me back. I cannot believe it has been 18 months. I was thinking it was 2 years. Like it's just how crazy how it happened, because I actually was the hopeful last year. And I went on, even before this process, even before the Pink Couch process, I had gone on multiple interviews because I was coming off of a sabbatical. This was before, even COVID and the pandemic, and going through so many different interviews, and I just kept getting told no. And this was very shocking for me because I had great experience, great practical experience, had built a portfolio so people could actually see my experience in public relations and as well as integrated marketing communications. And I just could not understand what was going on. I actually had one bite with a big tech company. I'm not going to say any names, but a very, very big tech company. I was flown out to do an interview. I went through multiple work assignment interviews and, all these types of things. And I thought that was going to be my ticket. And I would say that process started in July of 2020, and it kept going and it kept going and it kept going and it kept going and it kept going. Not July of 2020, July 2019, excuse me. It kept going and kept going and kept going. And I was just like, because usually when you get flown out, or as the kids say, when you get flued out, you think that you are definitely going to, at least you're nearing sort of the end of the road, but they kept changing, and it went to, well, this position is going to be internal. So, well, we've opened it up, and there's someone from an internal standpoint that is interested. And I'm just like, we're nearing the end of the process, and everything just kept being thrown. And so finally, I ended up in October or November, did not get that job. From July to November of 2019, did not get the job that I was actually applying for. Then it was like the recruiter was trying to figure out how to get me in something. And the conversation started up again after the holidays. And finally, I said, you know what? I'm good. It was just too much emotional turmoil and that sort of thing. And so all of that happened. And then I ended up on the Pink Couch, and the rest of the story and everything is history. But I do have 3 tips that I would love to share with the Pink Couch mentees as well as the audience. So my first tip is really have faith. And whatever your faith looks like, whatever spiritual being that you find and comfort, definitely lean on that. It is so important. I'm a Christian, so I leaned heavily on God and leaned heavily on my faith, because I knew that He wasn't going to bring me this far without bringing me to the promised land, essentially, and really having my back. There's been so many other things that I know that has really that God has pulled me out through. So that's my first one. Whoever you pray to, whatever spiritual being that you are a firm believer in, definitely take heed in that. That's my first one. The second one is occupy your damn time. So that line actually comes from Two Can Play That Game, which is one of my favorite movies. And Vivica Fox said that when she was broken up with Morris Chestnut and she was trying to get him back, but she occupied her time. And when I say in this sense about occupying your time, when I was sort of in this space last year of, I don't know what type of job I'm going to get, I started making sure that I was staying up to date with skills, looking at how to network. Because we were at home, there were so many different free opportunities via webinars, because people were trying to just remain engaged. And so I scoured my LinkedIn, participated in this webinar, that webinar, new webinar on storytelling. That's how I learned TikTok. I only did one TikTok because I honestly don't see how these kids can do these TikToks every single day. It wore me out. But, it was like the eve of the Savage Challenge, like Meg Thee Stallion, very hot. So I did one of those. I'm a sneaker enthusiast, so I called up some of my girlfriends and we did another sneaker challenge. So again, all of this stuff was just keeping me occupied, but also it really helped me understand sort of this new wave of communications that was really being born out of a pandemic. And now look at TikTok, and now look at how communicators are using these particular platforms. So I was really making sure that I wasn't sitting at home just twiddling my thumbs, but very much being very proactive about finding these opportunities in the space that we were in. And then the third tip I would say is just to persevere. You're going to get trials, there's going to be obstacles that come, but to have that continue to persevere is just so important, because you're not going to be, even though you feel like you're defeated at this point, it's not going to last forever. It's not going to last forever. It's going to have a timetable, but you are definitely the person that's in control of making sure that at some point, you know, you do have that end game or that timetable where you can really, really help write your own story and tell your own story. You definitely have the power for that.
It's so refreshing to hear you talk about that period of time, because there were a lot of things that happened at the same time, not having work, COVID, being, you know, in the house, unable to network and go to functions and even just go hang out with your girls on a Friday night if you just needed your spirit boosted. And so with where we are now, I think it's really important for those of us, and I woke up this morning with the words, you know, you have got to go full throttle, Cheryl, for the last 90 days of the year. When you are feeling depleted, because these interviews, let's face it, Ryan, Fatia, you know, Dorissa, you're out there trying to get money coming in. It can be defeating. It can be impactful to your self-esteem. It can wear a person down.
Absolutely.
And you want to make sure, as Rebecca said, you are staying in the moment and what do you say? What's the term? Occupy your damn time?
Occupy your damn time. Yes.
Occupy your damn time. Okay. I like that. I'm going to have to take that one.
Yes.
Because it takes the emphasis off of what you don't have.
Right.
And it puts you into the present moment and helps you reflect and be grateful for what you do have.
Absolutely.
So I don't know if Fatia, Ryan, Dorissa, if you have any questions for Rebecca about, you know, how you keep your mindset positive when you're going through an extended length of time in achieving your goals.
Well, this is Dorissa. I did want to say thank you to Rebecca, because earlier when we did a reunion show, she suggested a book to me called Resilient that was very helpful. And I read it actually before I did my first pitch competition.
Awesome.
Very, very, very helpful to me. And it gave me kind of a mindset. I was actually holding back on deciding on what type of corporate entity I wanted to establish for my app. And after I read that book, I was like, okay, I know what I need to do now. And I was able to.
Awesome.
So thank you for that.
I'll definitely have to tell my friend Savitra that you had a winning story. So yes, it's one of my very, very good friends who wrote that book. And so I'll definitely have to share that story with her for sure.
Tell us the name of the book again and the author, Rebecca.
Yes, the name of the book is called Resilient. And the author is Savitra Wilson, and that's spelled Sevetri. And last name Wilson. She's a serial entrepreneur, also from my native Louisiana. And she and I have been friends since college. And she just has an amazing story. This is actually her second book. And so she is just another one of those people that I actually lean on as well. I'll actually share a story. New Year last year, she and I and a couple of our other girlfriends, we got together and we did a prayer jar. And basically, I had never done that before, but we all had these index cards where we wrote literally like our goals and essentially what we wanted to see happen for the new year, going into the new year. And so particularly on my prayer card, I definitely had, you know, just job opportunity. I had a job at the time, but my prayer was to really just continue to excel at that job that I was at, or if there's a better opportunity or another opportunity that's suited for me to be able to find that. And so that's exactly what happened. And a lot of my girlfriends who were there that night, we have been excelling. So I told them, I was like, we got to do these prayer cards every year because it has been working out. But yes.
Wonderful. Wonderful. Thank you for sharing that story with us, Rebecca. Fatia, Ryan, do you have any questions or comments for Rebecca?
Yeah, I also just want to say thank you as well to Rebecca. We spoke about a couple days ago prior to my interview with the National Black MBA Association Conference, and she pretty much reiterated a lot of what she said today on Pink Couch, but also provided me with a connection. So I just want to say publicly, thank you so much again, Rebecca, and I'm going to take that prayer jar idea.
Yes.
So, you know, here's the reality of the situation. As hard as we work, as often as we accept the milestones and accomplish the milestones towards our goals, sometimes we don't achieve our goals in the time frame in which we had originally assigned them. It's okay to readjust your time frame. It's okay to step back and reassess what's not working. So if you are getting interview after interview after interview, that tells you your resume is working. What it is also saying is perhaps your interview technique isn't. So how do we tighten that up? How do we make sure that we go into these job situations knowing exactly what the role calls for? Not only that, but understanding how the person interviewing you, how they actually perceive the job description. Because sometimes the job description itself and the person who's interviewing you, their perception of the job may not be in alignment. And so literally, when we talked before, when we said, Ryan, you're acting, you are basically, my son's an actor now, so you're on a casting call and they're looking to see if this person, you, can match their ideal of what the perfect employee looks like for this role. So I do encourage you. We had a coach on last season, Jeff Altman, who said, ask the interviewer at the beginning of the interview, before you really get into it, what does this job, how would you describe it? And what you think is important skills to have for this role. Get that assessment from the person, Ryan, if you are talking to a live person, but have an opportunity to get that feedback from the person so that you can kind of shape and manipulate your answers around that person's perspective, because that person is the one who's going to get you from point A to point B and beyond. Does that make sense? Yeah. Okay. So emotional tenacity is really very important. I want to make sure, because we're not going to be meeting every couple of weeks going forward, I want to make sure for those of you who haven't yet achieved your goals that you stay in action. Don't give up. Don't curl up in a ball. Curling up in a ball is not going to get you that job. And like I said, it's like kissing frogs. If Rebecca had gotten the job that she thought was going to be the great job, the tech job that she thought was going to be the great job, chances are Rebecca wouldn't have gotten promoted 8 months to SVP role, right? And, you know, adding on to her salary in an incremental, like large percentage, if she had accepted that first job. So now when she goes back out, if she ever does, and I'm not saying Rebecca's looking, so don't y'all start no rumors. But if she ever goes back out, she's going back out looking as an SVP. She's looking as an executive leader now. She's not going back at the same level that she would be had she gotten that job. So you have to think about, you know, the door that closes may be a benefit for you that it closed, and look at it from that perspective. And like I said, say thank you to the universe, God, whoever that you're believing in, Allah. You have to say thank you, because man, you must really have something that's going to be the bomb.
Right.
That up just for me. Any other questions for Rebecca or Brian? Okay. Well, I want to say thank you to both of you all for joining us today. I will let the two of you go as we kind of wrap up here on our last session with the hashtag Next Level Tribe of mentees. I want to say thank you very much for coming on. You've added invaluable insights and information to today's group. So thanks, and we'll see you later. Mentees, don't leave.
Thank you guys. It was wonderful talking to you guys.
Thank you so much, you all.
Good luck on all your endeavors.
All right. So it's just us. And I want to go around really quickly. You all have identified what your 3 highlights are in terms of accomplishments since we started live from the Pink Couch 8 months ago. What I want you to do is I want you to focus on what those accomplishments are and how you're going to proceed going forward, staying in action. So who wants to go first? And tell us, when you go, tell us what your pink elephant goal is. And then tell us what the 3 things are that you're most proud of that you've accomplished in these few months, and what you're going to do to stay in action going forward.
Okay. So 3 things. One was, asking questions. I was always quiet in class, I would say. So I never really raised my hand to ask questions. And that's kind of like, that skill has helped me a lot as far as being able to talk to people, making myself, more personable with, individuals I network with on LinkedIn or in interviews. So that's like the biggest skill I think I've taken away. Number 2, was my, internship that I've gotten, which has just given me so much, value as far as skill sets go. And, 3, I guess, is, what would 3 be? Can I get back to you with the 3rd one?
That's fine. That's fine.
Okay.
Tell us what your pink elephant goal is, Ryan.
Okay, my pink elephant goal was to get an analyst role with a bulge bracket or middle market firm making $56,000 or more.
And so you've got a second interview coming up with Goldman Sachs, and you've had this dynamic internship that's helped you. And I think you're definitely in a much stronger position now as a job seeking candidate than you were when we first landed on the Pink Couch. So I'm very proud of the accomplishments that you've made, and you have to keep me posted and let me know how well things are going. And I think it's just a matter of time. It's just a matter of time, and you're going to get a great, great person when they hire you. So keep the faith. Don't give it up.
Thank you so much, Cheryl. I appreciate all your help.
You're welcome. Who wants to go next?
This is Darissa. I can go next if that's okay.
Sure.
So I want to just say thank you again so much, Cheryl, for your leadership, for your mentorship, for your help, and for all of the coaches that have imparted to us their knowledge and wisdom throughout this process. Thank you. And thank you to my other Next Level Tribe members. You guys have been so fabulous. I've really enjoyed getting to know you and watching your journey. So this has been a tremendous blessing for me. So I want to say thank you for that. Hi, I'm Darissa. I'm the Lone Star. And my pink elephant goal is to launch my app, Cause Music, which creates a personal theme song based on your astrology within the next 6 months, with $50,000 worth of startup capital, and launching it on the Apple App Store. So that is my pink elephant goal. And then the things that I am most appreciative for throughout this process is being connected with a coach and mentor who was able to help me through his experience as a CTO come up with a beta version of my app. And through the help with Cheryl, get not only my pitch deck, but my business plan up and ready to go and out the door. And I'm in the running for a few pitch competitions right now, so I'm grateful for that. And then also too, having the drive to keep going and to make sure that I plan my journey and not exhaust myself, but exhaust myself trying to get there in the sense that, you know, I plan it out and I work as diligently as I possibly can to go and make that happen. But, you know, not be hard on myself should I not accomplish things in the time that I hope to, but keep going. So I appreciate that. And I appreciate the examples of the other Pink Couch alum who have been able to hold the torch and achieve their goals and inspire me to do the same. So thank you.
Well, I am so happy that you touched upon your accomplishments, Darissa. Most importantly, you know, being a entrepreneur is not for the faint of heart. I've learned that myself this past year. It's not for the faint of heart. But when you believe in what you're doing, when you believe that you have the answer that can help and impact positively other people's lives, then you have no choice but to keep going, because you're giving a gift, your gift, back to the world. And so I think it's your obligation, your responsibility to continue going and to not give up. And you also stress that sometimes you just have to realign your goal. If it doesn't happen within the 3 months, 4 months, 6 months, okay, but you've gone full throttle, as I just said before, in working toward it. It doesn't happen, expand the goal, but don't give up the dream. Never, ever, ever give up the dream. So I am really very pleased to have had you. I can't wait until you make that phone call and you say, Cheryl, go on apple.com or wherever I'm supposed to go and, you know, and download my app. I'll be the first person to do it. So we're wishing you much success, Darissa. And last but certainly not least is Fatia. Fatia, my hopeful Fatia, who is a research guru. Fatia, who has been out here looking for work and can probably do the jobs of most of the interviewers who are interviewing her, because she's been on so many interviews. She knows what she's doing at this point, and she's just looking for that one company who's going to give her the break that she needs and deserves. So Fatia, why don't you tell us what your pink elephant goal was and what 3 accomplishments you're most proud of having gone through?
Well, first I want to say this is a very bittersweet moment. I just want to say thank you for pouring into all of us, for sharing your time, for sharing your resources. I didn't think I was going to cry.
As you mentioned, cry.
This is the end of the road. And again, like you mentioned, my name is Fatia, and my pink elephant goal was to be a marketing manager or senior marketing analyst within a health or tech care space, healthcare industry, making $85,000 to $100,000 a year. And throughout this whole journey, you know, a lot of highs and lows, peaks and valleys, but 3 things that I would say I took away from it is 1, leaning on my personal network. So before Pink Couch, I did not like sharing with family or friends, like, I'm looking for a job. Can you help me? But I've since then jumped over that hurdle. The second thing is I got my Tell Me About Yourself elevator pitch really, really tight. So we worked extensively on that. And the final thing is the strong connections that I've been making. So throughout this time, I've been tracking, as you suggested, how many interviews I'm on, how many of that leads to a callback, and then leads to an offer and acceptance. So those 3 things I think have been very valuable for me. So I will continue to, use those strong connections, and 4 of them have taken an interest in me personally. So we try once a month. So I think that's a good thing for me to build my network and to continue, but also leaning on those 4 mentors to talk about things like passion projects or readjusting the goal, like you mentioned. So I just want to say thank you truly publicly, and just for what you're doing, what you do with people, helping people come up. We need more clones of you in every state. So thank you so much. Thank you to all the other Next Level Tribe members.
Thank you for that. That means a lot to me. You know, yep, Darissa. I think about you all the time. I'm having these conversations with people, and you know, Fatia, you're super whip smart. And I just know that wherever you wind up, it is going to be a great role for you. And just keep the faith and stay in there. I have not ever met anyone who tackles an issue the way you tackle an issue. And if I had a job opening right now, I would definitely hire you, because what Brian said earlier, you can't teach that. And I also love your curiosity about learning more and about learning why. And as a person who has managed many individuals, curiosity is also something you can't teach someone. And it's that curiosity that actually leads you to think beyond the job responsibilities that you're given to figure out how you can add more value to the company. And those are the kind of people who take the company to the next level. So this isn't goodbye, you all. It's just, we're not going to be talking every second and fourth Sunday, but stay in touch. As soon as you get a job, Ryan and Fatia, you got to let me know. Don't leave a sister hanging. And Darissa, as soon as you get that app up and running, make sure you give me a call. But I wish you all the best of luck. Thank you so much for being patient with us during this period, and for being brave enough to do this live from the pink couch. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Bye, everybody.
Bye.
Thanks. Bye.
Check out the progression of all of our participants at Cheryl's channel of Fabulosity on YouTube, or learn more about the coaching programs and services we offer at IamCherylGrace.com. This has been a Powerful Penny LLC Pink Elephant production.